Well, you just never know what's going to happen in Major League Baseball. Sometimes the biggest drama doesn't even involve a walk-off home run or a spectacular catch. This time, it involved a player, an umpire, a questionable call, and a very quick trip to social media. New York Yankees infielder Jazz Chisholm found himself at the center of a pretty eventful finish to Thursday's game against the Tampa Bay Rays. And it resulted in a one-game suspension from MLB. The reason for the suspension? It wasn't anything that happened on the field after he was ejected, but what he did just minutes after being tossed from the game. Jazz Chisholm blasted an umpire on social media, and as a result, Major League Baseball decided to hand down a single-game ban on Friday, citing a violation of the league's social media policy. The whole saga kicked off in the top of the seventh inning of Thursday's contest. Chisholm was at the plate and worked a full count against the Rays pitcher. The final pitch was called a strike, ending the at-bat. However, replays showed the pitch appeared to be well below the strike zone. Chisholm's frustration was immediate. He took off his helmet and began arguing the call with the home plate umpire. Yankees manager Aaron Boone came out of the dugout, likely trying to keep his player in the game. But Chisholm continued to voice his displeasure and was ultimately ejected by the umpire. Now, here's where the modern twist comes in. Instead of just heading to the clubhouse to cool down, it seems Jazz Chisholm grabbed his phone. Just minutes after being tossed from the game, he took to social media, specifically Twitter, and tweeted out about the call. His post, which didn't stay up for long before being deleted, read, "Not even F*** in close. A direct, blunt assessment of the umpire's strikeout call." MLB, however, is very clear when it comes to players and social media use during games. Especially regarding umpires, the league has a strict social media policy that prohibits players from using electronic devices during games. And it includes clauses that specifically warn players against denigrating or criticizing umpires online. Chisholm's quickly deleted tweet, seen by plenty of fans before it vanished, fell squarely into that prohibited category. As a direct consequence of that social media post, Major League Baseball announced on Friday that Jazz Chisholm was being suspended for one game. He was also likely issued a fine, although the article doesn't specify the amount. This punishment directly stems from violating the league's rules about how players can use social media, particularly when it involves criticizing game officials. According to the article, Jazz Chisholm is expected to appeal the one-game suspension. Filing an appeal allows him to remain available to play for the Yankees until the appeal process is completed and a final decision is made. Manager Davey Martinez just served his one-game suspension for a separate incident. As managers cannot appeal, Chisholm's situation is slightly different as a player. It's also worth noting that this incident comes during a challenging start to the 2025 season for Jazz Chisholm. After having a strong year in New York last season, the 27-year-old infielder is currently hitting just .169 with a .272 on-base percentage and a .451 slugging percentage over 81 plate appearances. His strikeout rate has been particularly high, a career-worst 32.1% of his at-bats ending in a strikeout. As Thursday's ejection showed, some of those strikeouts might feel unjust to him, but the high whiff rate has been a consistent issue early this year. After the game, Chisholm did address the ejection, stating he was fired up about the call. While he didn't necessarily agree with being thrown out, he did put the blame on himself for letting the argument reach the point of ejection. However, those post-game comments couldn't erase the quick trip to social media that violated league rules. This incident highlights how social media adds a new layer to the traditional conflicts between players and umpires in baseball. A moment of frustration on the field can quickly translate into a written public criticism online, leading to swift punishment from the league. Jazz Chisholm's one-game suspension is a clear reminder to players to be mindful of MLB's rules when using electronic devices, especially immediately after an emotional moment in a game. His appeal will determine if he ultimately has to miss a game and potentially pay a fine for those 9 characters he tweeted out. What do you think about Jazz Chisholm's suspension? Was the punishment fair? Let us know in the comments below.
Imagine grinding through a full count, only to see a sharp breaking ball called right below the zone, and then erupt on social media before you've even left the field. That was Jazz Chisholm's Thursday night. After being called out on strikes in the seventh inning of the Yankees' 6-3 win over the Rays, Chisholm tore off his helmet and argued until an umpire tossed him. Minutes later, from the visitors' dugout, he fired off a tweet. Not even close. MLB's social media policy, which bars using electronic devices during games to denigrate umpires, left little doubt about the outcome. Hours later, the league suspended him for one game. Chisholm plans to appeal immediately, meaning he'll suit up for Friday's contest while the decision is under review. But if the appeal fails, he'll have to watch Saturday's game from the bench. Another setback for a player who arrived in New York amid high hopes after a breakout 2024 campaign. The 27-year-old burst onto the scene in Miami with a rare blend of power, speed, and defensive prowess, and the Yankees acquired him to inject energy into a lineup that desperately needed it. Instead, he's off to a rough 2025 start, slashing just .169, 272, 451 over 81 plate appearances and logging a career-high 32.1% strikeout rate. His frustration over tight calls has only compounded a slump that demands patience and resilience. Yankees manager Aaron Boone acknowledged Chisholm's passion and sympathized with how a questionable pitch can fire up a competitor. "We all get fired up," Boone said, "but using social media to vent crosses a line. You've got to let the game speak." Behind closed doors, Boone and the coaching staff are already planning for Chisholm's absence, reworking infield rotations and shuffling bench players to cover second base, outfield depth, and pinch running duties. Losing a dynamic athlete like Chisholm for even one game stretches a roster thin, especially when late-inning flexibility can determine the outcome of close contests. The incident underscores the fine balance between emotion and professionalism in today's game. Baseball lives on social media, but policies exist to protect umpires and maintain respect. Chisholm's tweet may have been deleted seconds after posting, but nothing on the internet truly disappears. Fans and analysts alike have weighed in, debating whether the punishment fits the crime. Some argue that a single game suspension is steep for a heat-of-the-moment mistake. Others insist the league must set a clear boundary. As Jazz heads into the appeal process, the Yankees hope this becomes a brief detour rather than a defining chapter. His talent is undeniable, and the team still needs his left-handed power, speed on the bases, and electric defense. If he can channel that fire into disciplined play and keep the tweets to post-game interviews, the Bronx Bombers will welcome him back with open arms. In New York, every pitch and every tweet counts. If you believe players must weigh their words as carefully as their swings, hit like, share your thoughts below, and subscribe for all the latest from Yankee Stadium.